Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video I have another brand new launch to share with you all. How amazing is it that we've had so many new launches from Kiki London? So the next launch is two new shades in the Kiki London Easy Build Up range. So we have Soft Peach and Neutral Pink and they are both absolutely gorgeous. So let's take a little look at the colours in the bottle. As you can see, this one is a gorgeous, rich peach shade. Now, both of these colours did launch on Wednesday along with the new Neon Pastel collection. So they are up now already on the website. Then the second colour we have is Neutral Pink, which is a really pretty rosy pink shade. Now we did already have a nude and a pink from the Kiki London Easy Build Up range, which was Sweet Rose and Nude Tone. These have been on sale for quite a while now. So I just wanted to show you guys how the new colours compare to the colours that were already available. So I've got Sweet Rose on the right and I've got the new Neutral Pink on the left. And you can see they're two very different shades of pink. The Neutral Pink is a more rosy, dusky pink compared to the softer pink in the Sweet Rose. I'm then going to compare the nude tone to the sweet peach. So nude tone is a gorgeous caramel nude shade, where sweet peach is definitely more on the peach side. Nude tone, I'd say, is a little bit more sheer compared to how opaque sweet peach is. But you can see they're two very different colors. So you definitely need these two new shades in your collection. Now, I did want to swatch them for you. So I'm going to swatch Soft Peach to begin with. And I'm swatching today using the swatch holder from my Kiki London colour swatch file. So I've already popped two tips on and then I'm going to swatch my colours. Now I swatched the builder gels slightly different to how I would use them on a client or on myself, because we don't need to necessarily build up any strength and structure when it comes to swatching. So what I'm going to do is put a thin layer down and then just build that up ever so slightly so that you can see the true colour. Now the two new shades do work very similar to the original shades. You can work with them quite thin if you want a more sheer transparent look, but you can build the colour up if you want it to be a little bit more opaque. I am going to do two medium thick layers of builder gel just so we can see the true colour. Now before popping that into cure, I did just hold my holder upside down just to help pull all that product into the centre and help it self-level. I'm then going to pop that in to cure for 60 seconds, but I have sped the curing process up so you haven't got to sit and watch my lamp for 60 seconds. So now that we've got that first coat applied, I'm going to come in and apply the second coat, very similar to how I applied the first coat. Now, one thing I very quickly wanted to point out is when you are swatching on these little tips that come with the swatch file or any kind of tips that you're swatching on, ideally you do need to buff the surface to remove the shine from those tips. Otherwise, your gel tends to run and slide around and can cause a little bit of separation. I never had that problem when I was swatching the gel polishes, but because the builder gel is a little bit of a thicker consistency, it did want to slide around on those tips a little bit when I was doing the first coat of colour. So if you do have that problem when you're swatching your builder gels, just buff the surface of the tips and give them a wipe with some alcohol before swatching your builder gels. So there we have Soft Peach. It's such a gorgeous opaque peach shade. Now do bear in mind as well, we're swatching over a white base, so it may look slightly different over a natural nail. Now let's come in and swatch Neutral Pink. So like I said, I work slightly different when I'm swatching compared to how I would work with the builder gel if I was working on myself, but you can also use this technique. I like to build up my builder gel in usually just the one layer, especially if I'm only doing an overlay, but I did two layers here because of swatching. We're not building up thickness with the layer, we're doing it quite thin. So that's why I popped two coats down effectively, just so you could see the true colour. Now, one thing I love about the Kiki London Easy Build Up gels is they self-level absolutely beautifully. I flip it upside down because it pulls that product into the centre of the nail, which is what you would want if you was working on yourself or a client, because you would be building up the strength and structure for the nail. Again, I've cured that first coat, and even with one coat, this particular colour gives off such a beautiful colour. It's a really nice, soft, light pink, but when you do come in and build it up, you get the full true opaqueness, and it's more of a rosy slash dusky pink. I'm loving this one, and when I first see this colour, I thought it would be a beautiful base for a French nail or even in an ombre, because it's kind of like your classic pink for a pink and white. So further along in the video, I do show you guys how I do a French using this colour as a base. As you see, these easy build-up gels, they apply like an absolute dream. You don't need to do hardly any faffing with the gel to get it where you want it to go. It flows very, very nicely thanks to the medium viscosity that the gels have. And I've cured that for 60 seconds. If you're using a UV light, you would need to cure for 2 minutes. And there we have the beautiful neutral pink. So I'm now going to come in and use my Kiki London rubber top coat just to top coat these two nails to finish them off so that they're ready to go into my swatch file. And just look how gorgeous these two colours are. I'm so pleased that Kiki London have brought out 2 new colours in the easy build up range, because it's great to have different colours on hand. Different nudes and pinks suit different skin tones, so it's always lovely to have a nice selection in your kit. And I'm then going to pop that top coat in to cure for 60 seconds because it is the rubber top coat, which requires a 60-second cure. However, as you can see, I've sped up that curing process for you all. And just how beautiful do the 2 new shades look. I'm absolutely loving them. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favourite. So I'm now going to pop these into my Kiki London colour swatch file. Already swatched, I have the previous Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel shades. So I'm just going to show you guys them. So on the left, starting off, we have Snow Glaze, which looks a little bit more opaque, but it's more of a milky white. Then we have the Nude Tone and the Sweet Rose. So I did show you them in the bottle, and I do have videos up using them on the Kiki London channel. So do check those previous videos out. I will try to leave some linked in the description box below. So I'm just going to pop my tips on to the swatch file panel. And then I have all of my Kiki London Easy Build Up Gels swatched. There is also a crystal clear, but I didn't swatch that seeing as it was just a clear. The Kiki London Colour Swatch File was another very recent launch, and I do have a video up demoing that on the channel, so I will also leave that linked in the description box below. And you would have seen there in my swatch file, I do also have the new Neon Pastel range swatched. That is the previous video that I did on Wednesday, so do check that video out as well. We've had so many new launches from Kiki London lately, just how lucky are we? Now I did want to show you guys 2 designs using those new colours. So I'm going to work on one of the tips from my colour swatch file. I'm going to start off by applying the rubber base coat to this. Now if you was working on a natural nail, you would obviously need to do all of your natural nail prep first, dehydrate the nail and prime the nail before coming in with the base coat. But because I'm not working on a natural nail, I'm just going to jump straight to applying the rubber base. I'm then going to come in with my neutral pink to create the base for my French nail. Now I do already have a video up on the Kiki London channel showing how I do a full builder gel French nail, but I thought I would do it slightly different today, and rather than building the white tip with builder gel, we're going to paint it on with gel polish, because this can be a lot quicker when you are working in a salon. So I've applied my thin wet slip layer of my first coat of gel. I'm then picking up a larger ball of gel and I'm walking it over that wet slip layer of gel. Having your wet slip layer down helps guide your thicker ball of gel into place. So when you're applying this ball of gel, you would be focusing on building up your strength and structure. So you need to make sure that you've got enough product there in your apex area and down the center of the nail. I'm not building this up too much because I'm working on a nail tip rather than a real nail. And the nail length is fairly short, so you don't need to build up a huge apex. Now, as you can see, it did run slightly away from the cuticle area, so I'm just going to fix that up a little bit before popping it in to cure for a full 60 seconds. So now we have our nail built up, we've got our strength and structure in place. I'm going to now wipe off the tacky inhibition layer, ready to come in and apply our white French tip. So you can see it's built up quite a nice apex because we're working over that swatch tip. Now to paint on my French tip, I'm going to use the Kiki London Stripe Liner Brush along with the Kiki London Round Brush. And I also decided to use Coconut today for my white. Coconut is a very opaque, crisp white, so it's another white that's brilliant for a French. If you want a slightly softer white, you do also have a French white as well. So I'm going to begin by loading up my stripe liner brush with the coconut, and then I'm going to draw a straight line straight across where I want my tip to be. So I'm basically mapping out to begin with how far down I want my tip to go. So this is going to depend on yours or your client's preference here. Then I'm going to come in and draw 2 lines parallel to each other, meeting up ever so slightly inwards at an angle as I come in from the free edge of the nail. And this is basically just creating a rough shape that I want that tip to be. Then I like to kind of just colour it in a little bit just so I can see what it looks like. This kind of then gives me a rough idea of how deep I want my smile line to be, how round I want it to be, and things like that. So then taking that stripe liner brush, I'm going to round off those straight lines. And as you can see, it's created a really classic, simple French. Now there are a few different ways to paint on a French tip, so this might not necessarily be how you do it. It was one of the ways that I was taught, and it's been one of the ways that I've always found easiest. So once I've got my rough shape, I'm just coming over it again with my striped liner brush just to neaten it up and make sure I'm happy with it. Now at this point I was looking at it from all angles and felt as though the sides of that French tip now just could come down a little bit further. So that's what I ended up doing. I just wanted to even out the colour at the tip first of all, making sure that you do get right around the free edge of your nail, especially when you've built up the nail using the builder gel. So here you can see I'm just coming in and neatening that up, and as I'm neatening it up, I'm going to take it slightly further down the natural nail bed area just to create a more deeper smile line, so you see a little bit more of that white. And I was quite pleased with how this was looking, so I'm then going to pop it in to cure. Now using the striped liner brush makes things like a French 10 times easier. It's such a must-have brush. I do 90% of my nail art using the striped liner brush. Now that I've done my first coat of colour, I'm going to come in and do a second coat of colour. Now coconut is a very, very pigmented and it's a very bright white, but because I worked very thin on that first coat of colour, that's why I decided to come in and do a second coat. So again, I'm keeping this second coat nice and thin, and I'm working very similar to how I did the first coat. The difference with the second coat is you have already created your smile line, so it's a little bit easier when it comes to just painting over it. I then come in with my round nail art brush just because this is going to give you a little bit more of a neater and even application on that larger area than you would get with the striped liner brush. So I'm just making sure it's all nice and neat. Then I decided to come in with my angled nail art brush just to tidy up that second coat a little bit, as I had gone over my nice neat smile line ever so slightly. So I've just wiped my angled nail art brush onto one of the Kiki London alcohol pads just to moisten it with a tiny amount of alcohol, and then I'm able to come in and clean up that smile line just to make it ever so slightly neater. And then once again, now that I'm happy with that coat, I'm going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds. So now that we've cured that, we do need to come in and top coat to seal in our design. So I'm going to take the Kiki London rubber top coat. This is a no wipe top coat, which is absolutely amazing, and it's one of my favorite top coats to use. So I'm just going to apply a nice even amount of this to the entire nail. I like to use the rubber top coat when I've done any nail art because I find it really helps smooth everything out if you do have any bumpiness from your application. And then again, we're going to pop that in to cure for 60 seconds. And just look how much of a beautiful base that neutral pink created for a French nail. I'm absolutely loving it and I can't wait to try it out in an ombre as well. So let's move on to the second design. Again, I'm coming in and applying my Kiki London rubber base coat to start off with, popping that in to cure, and then for this design, we are going to use the new Soft Peach. Now I'm going to come in and apply this and build this up exactly the same way as we did the neutral pink. So I'm starting off with my wet slip layer. I'm going to leave this layer wet and then come in with a thicker ball of gel to build up my next layer. Now one thing to note, when you're doing the slip layer on the natural nail, you need to make sure that you keep it nice and neat and keep it off any of the skin or the cuticles. If you do get any on the skin or the cuticles, make sure you remove it with some alcohol before coming in with your thicker ball of gel, because your thicker ball of gel, it follows that slip layer. So if you get the slip layer in the cuticles, you're more than likely going to end up getting the larger ball of gel in the cuticles, and we don't want that because it's going to end up causing lifting. I always like to hold my gel upside down like I did there, just to help pull it into place and to self-level down that center part of the nail. And then for ease, I do always like to come in and remove that tacky inhibition layer because I find it a little bit easier to paint over a matte surface. Now, one thing to note is if you're working on yourself or a client, you would usually have a little bit of filing or buffing to do here. I didn't have that problem on the swatch sticks because the builder gel does self-level beautifully, but usually if I'm building up the nail on myself, I would come in and do a little bit of refining with my file or my buffer. Now I did decide to pop a matte top coat over this nail because I really wanted to have a look at what this colour would look like matte. I'm such a huge fan of matte nails, and just look how gorgeous this colour looks with a matte top coat. I definitely need to try the neutral pink matte as well. Now for my nail art on this design, I wanted to use two colours from the new Neon Pastel range. So I'm coming in with Limelight and just popping a blob of that onto my palette. And I'm then going to also use Holiday Blues because I felt as though this blue and green would work really well together. And just look how gorgeous these two neon pastel colours are. If you haven't already checked out the neon pastel range, then you definitely need to. So I'm going to just do a really simple swirl pattern on this nail. So I'm going to take my stripe liner brush again that we used for that French nail, load it up with some of the Holiday Blues, and I'm just going to do a really simple swirl across the nail to begin with. I'm really loving that the swirl nails still seem to be trending. They've definitely been a really popular design this spring. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over that first swirly line that I've drew on and just thicken it up in certain parts. Holiday Blues is very, very pigmented. So when I was using it here for nail art, I did decide I only needed to do one coat of colour. So I'm just making sure that I'm really happy with this first coat of colour before curing it, because I know that I'm not going to be coming over it with a second coat. And as you can see, again, the striped liner brush just makes nail art like this absolutely effortless. So now that we've got the blue down, I'm going to come in with the Limelight. Now what I want to do with the Limelight is I want to follow the blue line halfway, and then I want to bring it over to the other side of the blue. So I'm just building up the colour slightly. Limelight is a little bit more on the sheer side compared to Holiday Blues. So you would need to do two coats of this one. So I'm just really making sure that I'm happy with my line. Again, I want it to be slightly thicker up near that cuticle area and start fading out to a thinner line as we get down towards the center. And then the opposite here, we're starting off with a thinner line and making it slightly thicker as we get to the edge of the tip of the nail. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds. Now I did do a second coat of this, but unfortunately the camera was really out of focus. So I cut it out of the video because it looked really, really blurry. But all I basically did was went over that Limelight again with another coat before then coming in and top coating with my rubber top coat. And just look how shiny that rubber top coat is. I absolutely love this one. And then after that was cured, this was the finished result. Just how much of a beautiful base is Soft Peach, especially for colourful Nala. So there we have our 4 tips and our 2 new easy build-up gels. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave us a comment below or give the video a thumbs up. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.